Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to share with you a story on how imagination creates reality and the effectiveness and how fast this can actually work, and to disregard your 3D world, your circumstances. And in this story, this person completely disregarded the 3D world and trusted and had faith in his imagination, and he allowed the 3D world to unfold, even though there was things in his 3D world that were contradicting his imaginal scene. He stayed faithful to his vision. Here is a story of a person who was faithful to his vision, faithful to his imagination, and disregarded 3D circumstances, and was absolutely faithful to his vision. So FB, being a true imaginist, remembered what he had heard in his imagination, and he writes his story. A friend who knows my passionate fondness for opera tried to get Kirsten Flagstad's complete recording of Tristan and Isolde for me at Christmas. In over a dozen record stores, he was told the same thing. RCA Victor is not reissuing this recording, and there have been no copies available since June. On December 27th, this person was determined to prove Neville Goddard's principles by getting the album he desired so intensely, regardless of what his 3D circumstances were telling him, that this album was not available for purchase anywhere. So, lying down in his living room, he mentally walked into a recording shop that he patronized, that he visited often, and asked the one salesman whose face and voice he could recall. So he asked this salesman in his imagination, "Do you have Flagstad's complete Isolde?" He replied, "Yes, I do have it." So he's replaying this in his imagination, even though they don't have this record and they can't find it anywhere. He still did this in his imagination and disregarded his 3D and imagined it to be true. And the salesman replies in his imagination and says, "Yes, I do have that recording." So that ended the scene in his imagination, and he repeated it until it felt real to him. So this is really important that Neville Goddard does emphasize that you replay the scene over and over in your mind till it becomes real to you, till it takes on the tones of reality, to be persistent in your imaginal act or in your affirmations until it feels real to you, that it's done, and you're feeling it from the first person and not just looking from the outside in, but that you're actually the actor in the movie in your imagination. So late that afternoon, he went to that record shop to physically enact the scene. Not one detail supplied by the senses had encouraged him to believe that he could walk out of that shop with those records. He had been told last September by the same salesperson in the same shop, the same story my friend had received there before Christmas. So he approached the salesman that he had seen in his imagination that morning, and he said to him, "Do you have Flagstad's complete Isolde?" He replied, "No, we haven't." And without saying anything audible to him, he said inwardly, "That is not what I heard you say." So his 3D world did not conform to his imaginal act the way that he had played it out. So in his mind, in his inner dialogue, now it's saying, "That's not what I heard you say." So as he turned to leave the shop, he noticed that on a top shelf, what he thought to be an advertisement of this set of records, and remarked and said to the salesman, "If you don't have the merchandise, you shouldn't advertise it." And then the salesman said, "That's right." He replied, "That's right." And as he reached up to take it down, he discovered it to be a complete album with all 5 records in it. So the scene wasn't played exactly as I had constructed it, but the result confirmed what my imagined scene implied. So he ended up getting the record as imagined, but the scene didn't actually go down exactly as it had planned it in his imagination. But sometimes it's going to happen. I've had that happen to me a lot when I've imagined things to create the end result, but the end result didn't come about exactly as I imagined it. but the end result, I still got exactly what I wanted from that imaginal act. So I went to the end and felt the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and then it worked itself out in its own natural way. Even though it was a little bit different than what I had imagined, the end result was still exactly the same. I still got what my main objective was still completed. But there is something very important you can get from this story and from this imaginal act that he created, was that even when he was told that they didn't have that album, that they didn't have it, no, we don't have it for sale, he still felt as if he was still going to get it. So that sequence of events that took place in that natural order was him pressing the issue. He pressed the issue, saw where the record was being advertised, and told the salesman, well, if you don't have it, then you shouldn't be advertising it. And that pushed the natural sequence of events for him to get the record. Then the salesman goes over, and then he realizes that the advertisement that they have was actually the records. It was actually the records he was supposed to get. So when he imagined that state, and then he said it in his mind, he says, that's not what I heard you say in my imagination. Then that pushed him to the next level, where he actually pushed the issue, and then he pointed that out to the salesman, and then there was a natural sequence of events that led him to get that record. So don't be discouraged in your 3D world when you imagine something and it doesn't go down exactly as you imagined it, but you still get the end result. So just live in the end and allow everything to take place. And he acted naturally in this state. So the things that he said to the salesman afterwards was his natural state of having it. All right, that is the end of this video, but I'm going to post a sleep meditation on the screen for you that's going to teach you how to use your imagination just as he did in this success story. So click on that sleep meditation, follow the instructions, and learn how to use your imagination to create your reality. All right, I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.